It is Teleforum. It's one of my favorite days of Teleforum. When do you come? Once a month, right?
Once a month we're here.
I very much look forward to it. Yes, I'm going to talk about the trains, and I've got guests about the trains. Lisa Diaz is going to be my guest later. We'll talk about jobs. But anytime Dale Reckless comes by, I look forward to it. One, I learn things. Two, you bring your toys. If you're not watching on Facebook, please, if you can, this is being live feeded right now on Facebook. Dale Reckless, MRS Physical Therapy. You brought, when I was in gym class, if the gym teacher came out with one of those, somebody was in trouble. What did you bring, and what are you going to do with them?
So today we're kind of doing a different show. We're kind of going away from an injury-specific topic, and we're going to talk about pickleball.
Pickleball.
Pickleball. And the reason why I'm talking about pickleball is one of the fastest growing sports in the country right now. And I'm starting to see some injuries related specifically to playing pickleball. So what I wanted to do is introduce, if you haven't heard about it before, a little bit about pickleball, maybe why it's becoming so popular, and also some things that you can do to prevent injuries if you're getting into pickleball or you're thinking about getting into pickleball, things you can do at home to kind of prepare yourself to play the game and prevent injuries and enjoy yourself playing the great game of pickleball.
For people that aren't watching this on Facebook, there are two pickleball paddles and a pickleball ball, and they look like racquetball rackets. I know it's a huge deal. Is part of the injuries people thinking they're still 30?
Well, the one big thing about pickleball is anybody can play it.
Okay.
So it's really an activity that's becoming really popular with the people 40 and 50 and above. And the reason why is it's easily adaptable to people that maybe aren't as active as they were when they were younger. It's a similarity between, I would say, between ping pong and tennis. Maybe a little bit closer to tennis because you are standing on a court like a tennis court, although it's a lot smaller than a tennis court. So a tennis court is about 2,000 square feet when you play doubles, or I'm sorry, 2,800 square feet when you play doubles, and a pickleball court's about 1,800 square feet. So it's about 1,000 square feet smaller than the tennis court. The pickleball court's about 1,000 square feet smaller than the tennis court. So you have less of an area to cover. Excuse me.
Okay. It's basically a friend of mine that plays it. I've never played it. I've seen stories about it. He says it's in between table tennis and regular tennis.
That's right.
It's a little bit closer to regular tennis, though, as far as, and there's a net, and you're smacking it back and forth and pretending you're Bjorn Borg and stuff like that.
There's a net in the middle, just like tennis, that you're smacking it back and forth. Like I said, it's a much smaller court than a tennis court. So most of the time when you play pickleball, you play doubles. So it's a much smaller area you have to cover. So you're not running, forward and backward to the net and side to side as much as you would in tennis. Typically, you're not hitting the ball as hard as you would in tennis. And also, your serve is an underhand serve with pickleball versus a tennis serve is usually an overhand hard serve. So the mechanics of how you play pickleball and how it affects your body is a little bit different than it would be for a tennis player per se. But there are some similarities to what we see with tennis injuries and pickleball injuries. But today I want to focus on pickleball because it is such a fast-growing sport. Since 2020, over 500,000 people have started to play the game.
Since 20...
So these are people that never played pickleball before. In that short period of time, there's over 500,000 people that just started this sport. Like I said, it's the fastest growing sport in the country. And it's really a fun sport. You can do, whether you're a kid or an adult, but it's really a nice activity for someone that's getting a little bit older. They might not be as agile. They might not be as quick. Actually, I first started learning about pickleball about 8 years ago. And when I first started learning about pickleball, it was directly correlated to our Parkinson's program because pickleball became the official sport of the National Parkinson's Association.
Really?
And the reason why that is because when you have Parkinson's, it makes your movement smaller and slower.
Oh,
And
right.
pickleball allowed someone with Parkinson's to enjoy a sport that didn't require real fast movements and real big movements.
And not sudden movements.
Yes.
Okay.
So, the pickleball, if you're watching at home or not watching, it's kind of like a wiffle ball. It's got a lot of little holes in it. So it's very lightweight. It's made of plastic, so it's not hard. So if you do get hit by it, it might sting a little bit, but it's not going to hurt. And it doesn't move as hard and fast as would, say, a tennis ball that's got a little bit more weight and a little bit more velocity to it when you hit it.
Does it have the same amount of control? Like, can you put spin
You can put,
on
yeah,
that?
just like, if anyone's played wiffle ball, you can put a spin on a wiffle ball. The same thing with a pickleball. You can get some spins on it. Those people that get really good at pickleball, they know how to hit the ball in different directions to get good spins on it. But for the average person just starting out, it's a really simple, fun sport to get started with. It gets you active, gets you outside. Some courts are inside. Just to give you an example, in Cranberry Township, where my office, Cranberry Physical Therapy, is, they have over 1,000 members in their pickleball association. They had
Really?
so many people sign up for membership that they had to put their membership on hold. Now they've reopened up their memberships again because they're actually building more pickleball courts. They just passed that they're going to build more pickleball courts in Cranberry and actually build some indoor courts in addition to their outdoor courts. So it's a really fast-growing sport. I've seen these pickleball courts popping up all over the place. Or some people are converting their tennis courts to pickleball courts. Some people are building brand new pickleball courts. But it's a really fast-growing sport, and it's a lot of fun to play for that purpose.
I know we went through it here in Beaver County. Got pickleball courts, I think, going in at Brady's Run. I remember
Yeah, I'm
Jack
sure,
Manning saying, "Oh no, the pickleball people, they're growing every day." Who is a typical player? Is it somebody that used to play sports and thought that those days were behind them? Or is it somebody that never did and thought, well, I can do that?
There's part of both, actually.
Yes, sir.
There's some people that, athletics was always a part of their life, and this is something that they can continue to do. And there's also some people that have never played a sport in their life that are getting into it and really finding the enjoyment of a little bit of a competitive nature. They're getting outside. It's something they can actively do instead of just going to a gym and lifting weights. They can do something fun that's active for them. And it's really an addictive sport, and that's why it's becoming so popular and really catching on, because once you start playing it, it really takes you and starts going. And it's not too expensive to get into as well. So this set of rackets and 2 pickleballs, for example, you can get for under 20 bucks. So
Really?
for under 20 bucks, you can get started with your pickleball. Of course, as you get really into it, the rackets, you can spend hundreds and hundreds of dollars on rackets.
Just like tennis.
Just like any activity,
Yeah.
right? But just to get into pickleball, it's relatively inexpensive to get into it.
All right, what are the injuries? I'm trying to think of what part of my body would hurt after I tried to play this.
Yeah, well, let's stand up and
Shoulder, elbow,
let's show you something here
knees.
first.
Okay.
Come on and stand up with me here, and you guys can watch me
Careful
beat
what
Eddie
you
in some
wish
pickleball.
for those of you not watching this is the time in the show where Dale makes me do really weird stuff to point out my physical
So we
capabilities.
obviously don't have a net. So you've played ping pong before, right?
I have.
So we're just going to do a little light
Volley for
little
serve?
light volley back and forth. Now, typically in pickleball, you're going to be bouncing it off the ground.
Yeah.
Okay. But because we don't have the space, we're just going to volley a little bit back and forth. So little pickleball and underhand, no smashing overhand. Okay, just back, and you can get a feel for how the ball bounces.
Is this legal to use both hands?
I don't think you want to do that. No, you're not going to
Okay.
get enough of the
I'm
pushing the
already
ball over
trying
the
to
net.
cheat. I've never played
Okay,
it.
ready?
Yeah. I'm trying to. This is where I get Dale back for all the times he touched my feet.
Okay, so you can see, it's not going to do damage in your house if you're playing. It
Doing
doesn't hurt
damage
if
to
you
my
get hit by
heart.
it. It's
Well,
kind
hit
of
me.
like
Go
well,
ahead. Go
Okay,
ahead.
so I'm gonna pretend that I'm hitting it to you. So I want you to get in your stance. So get prepared like I'm going to hit it to you. Okay.
Sure. Am I supposed to hit back or?
So as you can see,
God, it's
when
Little League
you can
tryouts
see-
all over again.
You can see my stance and your stance. You have your feet kind of wide apart, right?
Yeah.
And you're kind of ready to receive the serve, or you're ready to hit the serve. Okay.
Pre-active.
So the number one injury that I see with my patients is, any guesses?
Lower back.
Make it fun. That's number 2.
Okay.
Number 1 is the hips. Okay. Number 1 is hips injuries because you have these people that maybe haven't been real active. They haven't been doing a lot of physical activity, and they get
don't
out and
know.
they try it.
Yeah.
So you start with this wide stance.
Yeah.
You're kind of shifting your weight back and forth.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a large area, but sometimes you have to run up to the front of the net, okay, to catch like maybe a dink that's really low shot. And so you have you have people that are doing this activity. They're kind of weight bearing back and forth.
Right.
They're lunging forward, things like that.
And it literally,
so
they maybe have never done
their,
this.
their hips have not really been prepared, either flexibility-wise or strength-wise, for this kind of activity. So the number one thing I'm seeing with pickleball is the hips. Now, pickleball will find any weakness that you have. So if you have a weakness in a
That should
certain
be a
area,
slogan for the tour.
if you have any area of weakness, pickleball is going to find it.
Okay.
So if you do have any weakness in your shoulders, your elbows, your wrists, your knees, your hips, your feet, and we'll talk about all those joints, pickleball is going to probably find it. Okay. So again, it's not. It's not a real aggressive sport, but if for someone that hasn't really kept themselves physically fit, doesn't do any regular exercise, flexibility-wise, strength-wise, you might find some discomfort in your shoulders, your elbows, your wrists, your hips, your knees, your ankle.
You're going to be
the whole way
sore.
up through the chain, you could find it.
Is this when you figure out the difference between sore and injured?
Well, just a little bit of soreness is okay.
Okay.
Anytime you start an activity, you might have a little bit of soreness. But when it lingers on for a couple days, or it becomes becomes more of a sharp issue, an achy issue that doesn't go away, that's the time to give us a call at MRS Physical Therapy or Cranberry Physical Therapy, and we can help figure out what's going on and how to resolve that issue. And like I said, we actually sponsor the Cranberry Pickleball Association, so we get a lot of the pickleball athletes that come in and see us with these types of injuries. And pickleball's been around for quite a bit of time, but it's just really become popular in the last couple of years.
I see it on television. Literally, there's a pro tour.
Yeah.
And the pro tour stops. The waste management pickleball profession in Phoenix. It's on my TV, and I recognized it from the sound.
Yeah, and pickleball can get to a really high level, like you saw. There's pro tours that are out there now. If you watch that on TV, don't let that scare you away from the sport, because really, when you get into the community pickleball activities, it's not that high level. People are just going out there for fun. They just want some time to spend. A lot of spouses will do this together, because a lot of pickleball is done with doubles, mixed doubles.
Yeah.
So you're doing it, with your spouses, with your neighbors, and it can be a lot of fun getting out there for that activity.
Okay.
So let's talk about the first major type of injury that I see, and that's the hips. And for that reason, you want to do a good warm-up, just like you do if you're going to do any sport or activity. You want a good warm-up that you do.
What's a good hip warm-up?
prior to your activity. So we're going to show you a couple good warm-ups. Okay. So the first one is high knees. So you can just bring your knees up high. Whoop.
Good. I don't have to do it if you can't say it.
So you can either do that with or without your hands. So it's called a dynamic stretch. Just bring your knees up high. You could also do a little extra pull on your knees as you come up, as long as your balance is okay to do that.
I almost killed my radio too.
Okay, and that's called high knees.
Marching band.
You'll see people just walking around the pickleball court, just kind of doing a dynamic stretch like this. It's called high knees.
Okay.
Okay. The other one is another one's called a butt kick, and so you just walk around. You bring your heel back towards your butt, and that's going to stretch out your quadricep and your hip flexor muscles a little bit. And again, this is another dynamic stretch to get your legs ready for pickleball.
I feel like I'm looking for a mate in the top of a tree.
The next one's called a Frankenstein.
Cool.
So the Frankenstein is a high kick. So you're kicking your foot up high.
Okay.
And that's helping to give you a dynamic stretch to your glutes and your hamstring muscles.
Oh, you feel the hamstrings.
Okay. And the next one is a lunge. So lunge is just coming down, kind of walking across, getting a good flexibility of your hip flexors and your knee muscles and your ankle muscles. Okay. And just spend maybe a couple minutes doing those different dynamic stretches. Okay. Let's go over a couple more specific stretches. Let's go down on the floor for this one, and I'm going to have you lay on your back. Make sure we get you on video here.
Gonna hang on to this.
So you lay flat on your back. So like I said, one of the common issues with pickleball players is hips. So we're going to give you a couple of hip stretches that you can do at home. Okay, so if you're watching at home, you see a good demonstration of how to do some hip stretches. So you're going to keep your feet together, and you're going to drop your knees out away from each other. Some people know this one as the butterfly stretch.
Yep.
Okay,
Like that.
So this helps to open up your hips and give you flexibility in the inside muscle and the outside muscles of your hips.
Right
And when you're
there.
doing a stretch, I like to hold it for about a 15-20 second hold. Okay, so this is a butterfly stretch. If you're not watching, you're just listening. Eddie's lying on his back. His feet are together with his knees bent, and he's just letting his knees drop out to the side. And you're just letting kind of gravity hold your knees out to the side, and you get a good flexibility. Do you feel the stretch in the groin muscle area?
Feel the stretch in the groin and on the
Opening
outside
up those
of the
hips, because when you play pickleball, you want to be able to open up your hips to kind of shift your weight back and forth. Okay? The next one is to stretch one of the muscles deep in the buttocks. It's called the piriformis muscle. So you're going to bring your knees back up, and you're going to put your right foot over your left knee. And then you're going to put both your hands underneath your left knee.
You think so?
And then, yep. Okay, put your right hand through the hole.
Then?
No, both around this knee.
It's getting
But
weird.
put your left hand, no, I'm sorry, your right hand.
Oh, like that?
Yeah, there you go, like that.
Oh, yeah, good one, Dale.
Okay. All right,
Yeah, I
so
like this.
we have Eddy laying on his back with his right foot crossing his left knee, and he's pulling his left knee towards his chest. And this is going to stretch out the butt muscle. It's going to give him a good stretch on that right butt muscle there. And then he's going to switch sides and put the foot across the other knee and pull that other knee towards you. Keep that foot across. There you go. And now it's going to stretch the muscle on the other side. Now, when you're doing a stretch, make sure you're holding it for a good 15, 20-second hold. That gives you a good stretch. So if you're having some hip issues or hip pain after pickleball or any activity, these are two really good stretches you can do to help out with that.
Okay, we're going to go to news, and I'm going to lay here for about 4 minutes and 50 seconds, and we'll be back. It's Dale Reckless from MRS Physical Therapy, pickleball, and I'll just be here. Tele4 on Beaver County Radio.
Drive into the Beaver Valley Auto Mall's Express Lane Service Department near the mall in Monaco right now and get 3 oil changes, including 5 quarts of full synthetic oil, a multi-point inspection, and tire rotation for only $165. That's just $55 per oil change for full synthetic. You won't find a better price anywhere in Beaver County. Purchase a set of tires and get $40 off an alignment. Everyone's saving at the Beaver Valley Auto Mall Express Lane. Call 724-371-0566.
The best of Beaver County is easy to discover. It's right here on your radio. Tune in Beaver County Radio or watch the best of Beaver County live on Facebook or YouTube video this and every Thursday from 11 to 11:30. The program is made possible by St. Barnabas. For over 3 years now, the show has been dedicated to shining light on the great things going on right here in your neighborhood and the people that are making it happen. This Thursday, enjoy conversation and insight from an intriguing lineup of guests who are creating excitement and having an impact right here in Beaver County. Your friends and neighbors at St. Barnabas are pleased to support the best of Beaver County. The radio broadcast will also be replayed each week from 11:30 to noon on Sundays on Beaver County Radio. Archived Best of Beaver County videos can be viewed on the WBVP WMBA Facebook page. It's your chance to encounter the best of Beaver County with host Mike Romai this Thursday starting at 11. For more information, visit beavercountyradio.com.
Circle Friends has an amazing opportunity for you to meet new people. That's because for a limited time, while a new location is being prepared for the Baden location, all activities have been consolidated in New Brighton. That means if you haven't been to Circle Friends lately, you're apt to see some new faces from the other end of the valley the next time you drop in. No matter where you live in Beaver County, Circle Friends Senior Activity and Enrichment Program in New Brighton welcomes you. Enjoy daily hot meals, exercise equipment, line dancing, bingo, car clubs, and more. Plus, Circle Friends also provides important assistance with income tax and Medicare counseling. All activities and meals are available for one low donation. Call 724-846-1959 for more details. Want to know more? Don't be a square. Join the Circle. Circle Friends. Stop by Circle Friends in New Brighton, located in the former St. Cyril's Church. Call the office at 724-846-1959 or click cofbeaver.com.
95.7 and 99.3 FM, along with WBVP, WMBA, and BeaverCountyRadio.com, invite you to tune in to Sounds of Faith. Tune in Sunday mornings from 7 until 9 for a mix of the best sacred music of all time. Sounds of Faith is brought to you by Crawford Tire and Beaver, the William Murphy Funeral Home, City Rescue Mission, MRS Physical Therapy, Circle of Friends, J&J Spratt Funeral Home, and Rome Monument and Inspirational Gifts. Sounds of Faith, uplifting, relaxing, and inspiring radio. Sunday mornings from 7 until 9 on 95.7 and 99.3 FM, along with WBVP, WMBA, and BeaverCountyRadio.com.
Highmark Blue Cross, Blue Shield, and Allegheny Health Network are pleased to present a new show on Beaver County Radio called Heroes. Tune in every Saturday at 10 and Sunday at 12:30 for Heroes, a wonderful half-hour segment hosted by Jim Roddy that profiles many of the local heroes in this community. Click highmark.com for more information and then tune in for Heroes this Saturday at 10 and again Sunday at 12:30 on WBVP, WMBA, and 99.3 FM.
NBA. Streaming at video.com. Walsh.
Hey, it's time to wake up, Beaver Valley. Hi, this is Pastor David Grove from the Church of the Redeemed of Beaver Valley. After over 2 years on the air, it seems that some of you still cannot get up in time. So I've got good news. Wake Up Beaver Valley is moving to a new time, now airing from 9 to 10, this and every Saturday morning. It's time to wake up and turn our hearts back to the cross of Jesus Christ. So I invite you to wake up early this Saturday. To find out more, it's Wake Up Beaver Valley, Saturdays from 9 until 10 a.m. on Beaver County Radio. God bless you.
You're putting it up in the lights on purpose, aren't you?
We're getting better at this.
I think the term is less crappy. Get it up in my grill. Don't mind us. Do your own radio show.
Are we back? All right.
All right. Oh, hi. Welcome to a radio show. Dale Reckless and I are playing pickleball. And the reason we're doing that, Dale Reckless of MRS Physical Therapy, there are pickleball injuries coming in because pickleball is becoming insanely popular. And before... Oh, I'm so counting this as steps. Before we do anything else, tell everybody how they can get in touch. You've got 2 offices, including one office that is a sponsor of this game.
We have 2 offices. One's in
grab it.
Bridgewater,
I'm exhausted.
which is right in Stone Point Landing. And that number is 724-728-7550. And the other office is Cranberry Physical Therapy on Route 19, right next to North Park Lounge. That number is 724-591-8121.
All right, what are we doing?
So you can see, get a little bit of a workout. We were playing during the break there, right? Just bouncing it back and forth. A little bit of a workout, and you can see why you might get some injuries.
Some winded, some sweaty, and we weren't stretching and going full bore, obviously. But you said the number 1 injury is the hip, and the number 2 injury is the small of the back.
I'm going to show you one more stretch for the hip, and then we're going to show you some strengthening for the hip to do.
Okay, do I have to lay on the floor again?
For the first one, no. You're going to get into a half kneel position. So get into a half kneel, one knee down, foot out in front of you.
Like that?
Yep. Bring your forward foot further in front of you. So if you're just listening in, Eddie's on the floor in a half kneel position.
Take a knee.
He's got take a knee, one knee down and one foot up in front of him. And then he's going to lean forward towards the foot that's in front of him. Okay, and what the purpose of this is, it's to stretch out the knee that's down on the ground, to stretch out the hip there. So you're stretching out the hip by leaning forward to get a stretch on the leg that's back behind you. And again, it's a stretch, so we want to hold that stretch for a good 15, 20 second hold. And then we would switch sides and do the other side as well. So this is a good stretch again for the hips. The hips
I'm going to interrupt you for a second. Mike Roma just walked in to take pictures. You know payback will come. We're good? Okay, I hope you got your photo.
So like I said, the hip is number 1, the back is number 2 injuries that I see with pickleball.
I
believe that is because people get into the activities without having good flexibility in the hips and good strength in the hips. So let's go ahead and lay back on your back now again, and we're going to show you an easy strengthening exercise you can do at home for your hips. There's a couple good ones I'm going to show you guys that are real easy to do. This one's just simply called a bridge. Go ahead and keep your knees bent with your feet together.
Yep.
And a bridge is just lying on flat on your back with your knees bent, hips bent, feet on the floor, and just lifting your butt up in the air. And many people are familiar with this exercise. And what this exercise does, it helps to strengthen up the glute muscles.
This is the Jane Fonda video exercise.
So the glute muscles can get weak if you're not active with them. And if they get weakness, they can lead to low back as well as hip pain and discomfort. So when you're doing an exercise, I usually have people pace themselves 2 seconds up, 2 seconds down. So it's 1, 2, up, 3, 4, down. And do 10 repetitions when they're doing a strengthening exercise. At least start with 1 set of 10. If that's too easy for you, you can build up to 2 or 3 sets of 10 with this exercise.
Okay.
Okay, let's go ahead and stand up now. Now we're going to pull my exercise band into our routine. So there's different brands of exercise band out there, and what these are, they're flexibility, they're stretchy bands that provide strengthening for you if you use them the right way. Different colors or different levels of strength. So I brought a blue one today because it's about a medium level strength, and I thought Eddie could use the blue level for medium strength.
Okay.
Usually the lighter colors are easier, the darker colors are harder. So we're just gonna, if you want to put these around your knees and just tie it in the middle there. So wrap it around both knees.
Okay. Like that?
Yep, and tie it up. Now this is going to be a little harder for you because you doubled it up. And if you double up your TheraBand, you can increase the resistance as well. So then you're going to bring your knees a little bit apart, feet apart, and just do a little bit of a knee bend, and then back up. So this is helping to strengthen his hips. Because of the band that I put around his knees, and he's pushing his knees out into the band, that's helping to strengthen out the hip rotator muscles.
That makes my knees feel like they have more support than they usually do. That feels good.
Good. So this is repetitions. This is 2 seconds down, 2 seconds back up. And so again, this is a hip strengthening exercise. It helps strengthen up his glute maximus, glute medius, his hip rotator muscles. So this is a good exercise to do to prepare yourself for playing pickleball. Maybe not necessarily a warm-up exercise, but an exercise that you can do in conjunction with being a pickleball player. The other one is sidestepping. So now that we have the resistance bands still around both knees, and he sidesteps, and as he sidesteps, you're going to lose your...
Okay.
As he sidesteps, he's strengthening up the outside of his hips. So he's sidestepping to one side a couple times, and then sidestepping to the other side a couple times. So this is a good strengthening exercise, again, for the hips. This isn't necessarily something you would want to do as a warm-up for your pickleball game, but something you can do to supplement the strengthening exercises that will help you with your pickleball game, especially if you're having any problems with your hips.
In 7th grade, we learned a square dance, and I'm flashing back to that.
All right, let's go ahead and see if you can get that untied and take that off there.
Tell them where your offices are while I'm doing this, because I can already tell this is going to take longer than I
So the
thought.
office in Bridgewater is right in Stone Point Landing. That's right on Market Street, right in the heart of Bridgewater. And again, that number is 724-728-7550. Then the Cranberry office is on Route 19, right next to North Park Lounge. That number is 724-591-8121. You could also get a hold of me through email. You can email me at d.reckless@mrsphysicaltherapy.com. And you can check out our website as well, which is mrsphysicaltherapy.com. Keep in mind that you can come to us through direct access, which means you don't need to see a doctor first. So if you're out playing pickleball, you feel a minor sprain or strain, you can just call us, and we usually get people in for appointments by next day. You can come right in to see us, so you don't have to miss out on your next pickleball game.
Pickleball. Thank
It's
you for
addictive,
starting.
right? So while we have the band out, let's talk about the shoulders. Now, the shoulders they're in the top 5, but they're not in the top 3 for issues with pickleball. And the reason I believe that is because pickleball is more of an underhand. Most people are playing underhand. You'll see some people doing overhand shots when they get close to the net.
Is overhand shots, they are allowed, just not a serve?
Not for a serve,
Okay.
right. But because of that, with more of the underhand activity and you're not hitting it as hard, there aren't as many shoulder problems. But I do want to talk about some shoulder warm-ups and some shoulder strengthening exercises you can do at home prior to playing pickleball.
Okay.
So before we get to the band, let's do some simple warm-ups first. So the first warm-up I like to do is just shoulder circles.
First thing I like to do is make sure I'm not going to knock things over.
You remember doing this in gym class? You start the small circles.
I always knew the
then you
gym
get to the
teacher-
big circles.
My gym teacher was hungover because sometimes we would do this for a half hour. This was like the whole class.
And you
then
do
run.
10 forward, then go backward.
Yeah.
Start with the small circles, then get to the big circles. And what we're doing is if you're just listening, we're doing big arm circles, just both arms out to the side, going in a circular motion. This is just kind of getting the rotator cuff muscles loosened up in your shoulders. Every once in a while you do see rotator cuff injuries and things like that. It just kind of helps to warm up those muscles to get them ready for pickleball, to get your shoulders going in all the directions that you might have to do to hit the racket paddle with the ball.
All right.
The other good stretch is just put one arm across your front of your body. So we're reaching one arm across the front of the body. The opposite arm is reaching underneath the elbow, and you're just pulling that across your chest. So this is just stretching out some of your scapular muscles, your mid-thoracic back muscles, as well as your posterior shoulder muscles. And that helps to stretch those out. Again, this one's a stretch, so you want to hold that for about a 15-second hold. And before you switch to the other side, this is a good one to do prior to your game as well.
Does it matter if my arm is straight, or can I do it like this? Am I getting more stretch with straight?
So you're going to get more of your posterior shoulder stretch with the elbow straight, because as soon as you bend your elbow, you're pulling the triceps in, which is okay to stretch out the triceps,
right,
but it takes away a little bit of the scapular and the posterior shoulder stretch that you do. So if you keep your elbows straight, then that's going to get a good stretch of the posterior shoulder as well as the scapular muscles. And again, it's a stretch, so you want to hold that for about a 15-second hold. Do that two or three times. These are just really simple stretches. I would recommend you do these to warm your shoulder muscles up prior to playing pickleball. Okay.
All right.
Now we're going to bring the bands in. And these are good strengthening exercises to prepare yourself for the pickleball game. So these, again, are complementary strengthening exercises. Maybe not something you do right before your game, unless you're having some active shoulder issues, then maybe you do want to do them. But I'm going to show Eddie a couple of these. So you're going to hold the bands right there, and you're going to keep your elbows tucked in with your elbows bent against your sides.
Shoulder width.
Yep. And you're just, so I gave Eddie this TheraBand, and he's holding it in each hand. With them out in front of him, with his elbows bent at 90 degrees by his side, and he's just pulling his hands away from each other. You want the elbows to stay tucked for this one, though.
Oh, okay.
So the elbows stay tucked against your side.
Rotating the shoulder.
Yep. So this works on your rotator cuff muscles. And just pulling that band away from each other. So again, this is a strengthening exercise. So I like for this one, 2 seconds out, 2 seconds relax. Do 10 repetitions. For this one, you might need to drop down to a little bit lighter band than you did for your legs because you're working on smaller muscle groups. You might need a lighter band than you do for your legs that work the bigger muscles in the legs. Use a smaller band, a lighter color band for the arms.
But the important part is keep the elbows in.
For this one, keep the elbows in to work the specific muscle that we want to reach in the rotator cuff. The next one is you're still holding the band the same way, but your arms are straight out in front of you. So now Eddy's shoulders are at 90 degrees from his body with his elbows locked straight out, and he's going to just pull the band out away from each other.
As far as I can, or just
as far as you can. Okay, again, we have a pretty high level, moderate level band here for Eddy for the upper extremities. You might want to drop it down to a lighter color band for this exercise. And again, this is a strengthening exercise, so it's 1, 2, out, and then 1, 2, in. And 10 reps of that one.
Is it hyperflexed if the band touches your chest, or is that what you're looking for?
No, you're looking to get it all the way so it touches your chest. You want your arms all the way out so that the band comes up against your chest.
But under control, 2 seconds.
But under control, right. Okay, then the next exercise is working on diagonal. So he's going to keep one hand, he still has the band in both hands.
Yeah.
He's going to drop one arm down low and the one arm's going to go up high. The arm that's down by his hip is going to stay in place. The arm that's up in front of his chest is going to come up towards the ceiling. So he's pulling it up and out. Okay, and this continues to work on some of the shoulder and rotator cuff muscles there. And again, a strengthening exercise, so pacing 1, 2, up, 1, 2, relax. Okay, so right now he's just working with the right side coming up and out towards the ceiling. And then we'll switch sides and then put the right hand down by the hip and the left arm comes up and out. So if you guys are just listening right now and you want to see what it looks like, you can check out this will be saved on both the MRS Physical Therapy Facebook site as well as the WBVP Facebook site. You can come back and watch the video to see these exercises that we're doing if you're not catching us on Facebook Live right now.
And we were told once again, the more stupid, weird stuff you do to me, the more people pay attention to it on social media. That's when the numbers spike. So we figured it out. That feels really good on the shoulder.
Yeah, so this is a good strengthening exercise for your rotator cuff to get some good stabilization in there. And we do this exercise a lot with our shoulder patients, whether they're a pickleball player or not, someone that's had post-surgery or things like that. At MRS Physical Therapy and Cranberry Physical Therapy, we treat all ages, kids all the way up through elderly and adults, and we treat all diagnosis. There really isn't any diagnosis that we don't see. So please give us a call if there's any diagnosis that you're concerned about, that you want to come in and see us, whether it's post-surgery or just tweaked something. Remember, if you just tweaked something, you don't need to see the doctor first. You can come directly in to see us for that injury. Now, there are some elbow and wrist injuries with pickleball, just like tennis.
Yeah.
Okay, not as much, though, because it's not as aggressive in a sport as tennis is. You're not hitting the ball as hard with a tennis as you are with a tennis racket.
Right.
But 2 simple stretches I want to show you is one with your arm straight out in front of you, and you're going to put your hand on the other hand, and you're going to pull that hand down below you. So your hand that you're stretching is straight out in front of you, and your wrist and your fingers are pointing down towards the ground. The other hand comes on top of the hand and pulls it down a little bit. And you should feel this stretch on the top of your forearm when you're doing it properly.
Absolutely.
So this is a good stretch to stretch out those wrist extensor muscles that can get tight with either tennis or pickleball playing.
All right.
And then the other one is just the opposite direction. So now you pull your fingers and your wrist up towards the ceiling. So your arm stays in the same position. You just change the wrist position now, and you're pulling it so the fingers are towards the ceiling, the wrist is towards the ceiling. And again, this one's a stretch, so you're holding it for about a 15, 20-second hold. Okay? Now, I always like to talk about the feet. Right?
I know.
And we're not going to talk about, we're not going to make you take your shoes off today. But I do like to talk about footwear real quick, because what you wear in your feet is important with pickleball. You don't want to wear your standard walking or running shoes for pickleball. You want to wear a good supportive court shoe. They do sell specific shoes there for court shoes. They could be basketball shoes because you have very similar movements with basketball as you do with pickleball.
Yeah.
They could be tennis shoes, of course, because tennis is almost exactly the same kind of movements as pickleball would be, just not as big of a movements, but side to side, diagonal movements, things like that. So you want a good supportive shoe that you wear when you play pickleball. They do make pickleball shoes, but I would suggest just a standard court shoe would be fine for you. So especially if you're just starting with the sport, you're not spending a lot of money to get into it. Like I said, the pickleball rackets and ball itself you can get for under $20, really inexpensive to get into it. And then a nice supportive court shoe shouldn't cost that much either. So you should be able to get into pickleball for under $100 as far as learning to play the game.
That, to learn a brand new sport, is incredibly cheap.
Yeah.
I'm sure that's got a little bit to do with its growing popularity.
I believe
It's
that does too.
Not a huge commitment. A new set of decent golf clubs is $1,000 and up.
Yeah. Yeah, so pickleball, for $100 or below, you can get into the activity. It's a great activity for everybody to do. Like I said, it really, I learned about it through the Parkinson's Foundation. And Parkinson's is a neurological diagnosis that slows down your movements and makes your movements smaller. And people with Parkinson's are able to play pickleball. So you can imagine with smaller and slower movements, as we age, we all tend to get some smaller and slower movements. It's really for anybody to get into, and it's a great sport for that kind of activity.
Dale Reckless of MRS Physical Therapy is my guest on Teleforum. I am Eddy Crow. If you're watching this on Facebook, yes, I am sweating like a pig. The one day it's going to be 70 degrees. We had the option of either sweating to death or turning on the air, and the air goes in the background, so I'm just sweating. Is there anything you want to put me through that you haven't yet? You literally just walked me through about 90% of pre-practice warm-ups when I was a soccer player. The stretching and the leg stuff was absolutely familiar to me.
We're going to do one more here for you guys because
Sure.
I don't want to forget about the knees. The knees are a really common thing that we see injury-wise, not as much as the back and the hip, but really close behind those. The knees are right there as far as having injuries. So doing a good knee stretch is really helpful, and this is a really easy one to do. There's two actually you can do. One is the one that Eddy's in position with right now with a foot up on a stool. If you're at the pickleball court, you can do this one on a bench, and you have one foot up and one foot down, and you're just leaning towards the foot that's up, and that's giving a good stretch of the ankle as well as the knee there. A little bit in the hips too. And again, this is a stretch. You want to hold it for about a 15-20 second hold.
A lot in the ankle.
And repeat that a couple times on each side. And then the other one you can do is turn your back to the chair and kick your foot up onto the chair. One foot back behind you. Yep. And this helps to stretch out. If you back up to the chair a little bit more, this helps to stretch out the knee as well.
Keep the toe tucked though, right?
Yeah, keep the toe tucked. So you're getting benefits in a couple areas. Really, you're getting a nice stretch in your plantar fascia in your foot when you do this stretch.
Yeah.
Because stretching out your plantar fascia on your foot is good, preparing you for doing any kind of physical activity that you're on your feet for, as well as helps to stretch out your knee as well. So when you stand up tall there with that knee behind you, okay, and stand up tall, and you can also get a little bit of stretch in your hip flexor as well if you're doing this one standing
Especially
up tall there.
Trying to balance, yeah.
Yeah, so usually when there's usually something to hold on to, a post or something, or a fence near the bench that you can hold on to. I would be careful with your balance with some of these stretches and strengthening exercises. We certainly don't want you to fall by doing some of the stretching exercises. So make sure you either have a partner to do them with to help you out, or you do them near a supportive surface that you can hold on to when you're doing these stretches.
Is there anything that you didn't cover today? I feel like we got through a lot. Dale Reckless of MRS Physical Therapy. I'm sorry, I'm winded. That's where we are.
Yeah, so just keep in mind if you have any kind of mild sprain or strain, if you're thinking about playing pickleball and you want to come down to see us, I'd be happy to give you a routine to work through for stretching and strengthening, preparing you for the sport and the activity. If you have started to play and you feel like, you have a tweak in your shoulder, your hip's not feeling quite right, or your low back or your knee, you feel little tweaks, we can also help you out with that. Our goal is to keep you active and keep you in the game. So as much as we can, we'd like to do that for you. So give us a call at MRS Physical Therapy at 724-728-7550, or you can call us at Cranberry Physical Therapy at 724-591-8121. And happy pickleballing.
Let's play going out. Let's see how long. 1, 4. Teleforum Lisa Diaz is next on Beaver County Radio. Well, I'll use two hands. Oh, fine.
County Radio, 1230 WBVP and 1460 WNBA. We just love giving away prizes and making winners out of our listeners on a regular occurrence. If you'd like a complete list of the WBVP and WNBA prize contest rules, just visit beavercountyradio.com.
Drive into the Beaver Valley Auto Mall's Express Lane Service Department near the mall in Monaco right now and get 3 oil changes, including 5 quarts of full synthetic oil, a multi-point inspection, and tire rotation for only $165. That's just $55 per oil change for full synthetic. You won't find a better price anywhere in Beaver County. Purchase a set of tires and get $40 off an alignment. Everyone's saving at the Beaver Valley Auto Mall Express Lane. Call 724-371-0566.